Hi, my name is Brayton, and today I will be talking about the two main polluters in our ocean, which are oil spills and plastics. Oil affects marine life in the way that it affects their respiratory system due to inhaling the oils, and plastics cause entanglement issues due to suffocation and lead to ingestion issues on marine organisms and much more. How does oil get into our oceans? Well, four of the main ways are transportation, use or consumption of oil, extraction, and natural seeps. Oil causes destruction to marine ecosystems and also impairs physiological functions, respiratory issues, and much more. There recently was an oil spill in my hometown, and my friend was caught up in it, so I decided to include a picture of what happened to his boat to show that if it can do that much damage to a boat, we can only imagine what it can do to marine organisms. I will now play a video of what oil looks like on the surface of the ocean. Here's a map of the 1969 Santa Barbara oil spill that I'm sure we have all heard of. This spilled 3 million gallons of crude oil into our local ocean, reaching all the way to Santa Rosa Island and Santa Cruz Island. This spill alone killed roughly 3,500 seabirds and many other seals, dolphins, and more. If just this spill alone did this much damage to our local waters, we can only imagine what thousands can do year-round all over the world. When oil covers the fur of seals and sea otters, this hinders the ability to insulate themselves, causing hypothermia and other issues due to exposure to bacteria. Dolphins, along with whales and seals, inhale and ingest this oil, and this causes respiratory irritation from inflammation of the lungs. It also causes pneumonia, ulcers, bleeding, diarrhea, and can also cause damage to their organs. This overall weakens their immune system and leads to death sometimes, as we can see in this unfortunate picture of the dolphin right here. When sea turtles come up to air, they often inhale this oil, which is a toxic substance, and something happens called esophageal papillea, and this is when the process of the esophagus joins the stomach and traps food while water is expelled out prior to swallowing. Because sea turtles inhale so much, oil is absorbed into the body through this process. Oil also affects animals that have yet to even be born. This happens when young ones inherit oil components while still in the egg, and this obstructs growth and development. They inherit these oil components from the female mother, and as we can see, the oil gets passed on through generations. Another way is in this photo here. When oil covers the sand beach, it suffocates hatchlings and eggs and leads to them not being able to survive. This sometimes can wipe out an entire year species of sea turtles. Zooplankton are crucial elements of our marine ecosystem, and they live either partially or fully in the water column. Due to their inability to swim against the current, they are often exposed to these polluted waters because there's not much they can do about it, and they are stuck in there. Zooplankton are prone to reduced physiological factors and mortality. And because zooplankton are food for a lot of organisms, the oil that affects them often goes on to affect other organisms when they eat them. Much like the sea turtles, immature stages of zooplankton, such as planktonic larvae, are affected by oil spills. And oil spills affect these larvae by stunting their growth and lack of levels of nutrition. Specifically, planktonic copepods are highly affected by oil spills, and researchers often use these copepods as indicators of how much damage oil spills have really done to the marine ecosystem. The next biggest ocean polluter I will be talking about are plastics. And plastics are durable, flexible, and made at a low cost, which makes them highly produced compounds and widely accessible. And ways that plastic get into the ocean is through littering, runoff of floods, and trash being flown away and then ending up in our waters. Single-use plastics are some of the biggest issues when it comes to this, such as grocery bags and plastic straws, as I'm sure many of us have heard of. And as we can see here, 8 million tons of single-use plastics end up in our oceans every year, which is crazy. And the effects of marine life are very visible, and there are many pictures, such as this one here, of them mistaking plastics for prey and eating them, which leads to starvation because they are not getting any nutrition from this plastic, and they oftentimes think their stomach is full, when really it is just filled with plastic. Another issue when it comes to plastic in marine organisms is entanglement, such as entanglement around their necks of seals or sea turtles, and this leads to suffocation and further leads to death later on. Effects of microplastics stem from smaller organisms as well, such as phytoplankton, zooplankton, and fish. And when microplastics get ingested by these zooplankton and fish, it is often transferred to a higher trophic level due to bigger organisms ingesting these animals. Microplastics penetrate the cell wall of phytoplankton, as we can see here, and this reduces their ability to absorb chlorophyll, which is one of their main reasons that they are in the water column. Heterotrophic plankton undergo something called phagocytosis when they come into contact with with plastic. This leads to tiny plastic fragments in their tissue because this is when living cells engulf other particles. Lastly, toxic effects on mammals, including seabirds, cause abnormal feeding behavior and reproduction when exposed to microplastics. A study was done in 2017 to show the large amounts of marine debris in the Southeast Pacific, including microplastics. In this graph here, we can see is showing the dots and different colors of density of microplastics. And as we can see, the red dots are representative of 20,000 or more items per kilometer. And as we move away from the land, we can see it mellow out to about 5,000 or 0 items per kilometer of the microdensity. It is concluded that plastics and other debris originate from littering and high sea fisheries, which are overall land sources, proving that humans are a large source of these debris. Marine vertebrae have interacted with the plastic, as researchers have seen, and this includes issues of entanglement and ingestion. The study also concluded that about 97 species of marine life are affected by these microplastics, which is far too many. Through this study, 80% of fish examined ingested microplastics that are similar in size and color of blue pigmented planktonic organisms such as copepods and crustacean larvae, which are common prey for these fish. This is evidence that fish often go for plastics that resemble what they look like. In conclusion, we must put a stop to these ocean polluters, and this can start in your local community or biggest state or legislators. Thank you.